Hey, it's Why We Love Horror. Can you believe it's episode 60? I'm John Maher. That's Aaron Brooks. Abby is under the weather this week, so we're going to let her sleep.
Yep.
How's it going, Aaron?
It's going blessed. Abby is here in spirit, we could say. I am here in the abyss of my home. I'm excited to untangle this movie with you.
Well, a couple things. Like, we know you're an A24 guy, and B, you like movies that spark conversations, I guess, for lack of a better word. So this is right up your alley, I would guess. Heretic.
If I could make a wish, no lights, no sound. If I could make a wish, no lights, no sound.
Are you ready to hear about our Heavenly Father's plan for you?
That was a trailer for Heretic, the shorter trailer, obviously. Aaron, I'll do the synopsis. Why the hell not? Basically, short and easy. Two girls, missionaries for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the Mormons, are out on. Basically, they've been given like warm leads of people that want to be, proselytized, and so they're going around. And this dude, I forget what Hugh Grant's character's name is off the top of my head.
Oh, I didn't. It's Mr. Reed.
Mr. Reed, that's right.
And I will get back to that later. Don't worry. There's lots of theories this episode.
He requested a special visit, and there's a lot more in store for these girls when they get there. Not like gory, crazy, creepy slasher stuff, but really deep, like esoteric, theologic horror.
Yeah,
that's it. That's Heretic.
Yeah, no, this is A24. I don't think they've really done a horror like this before. Exactly, they've done some religious horror, I guess, with Black Coat's Daughter and a few other. Yeah, Saint Maud, of course. But that, like, with Saint Maud and Black Coat's Daughter, I feel like it's more like what you expect from religious horror, which is like the kind of classic, like, getting possessed, or, with the Saint Maud and Black Coat's Daughter, frankly, and like or it's like a cult, stuff like that. In this movie, it goes like real deep with it. I mean, it goes everywhere. I mean, I told you after we saw the movie, and I don't know when you want to throw up spoilers. You can kind of throw them up at whatever point you want. You might as well throw them up.
Let's just throw them up. Yeah, this is a deep intellectual. This is like an intellectual horror movie, I guess, is probably how I classify it, because it goes beyond theology. Like, theology is like what draws you in, and he just goes.
Yeah, and it goes everywhere. I mean, and not all of it is probably completely accurate. I'm not a religious scholar at all. In the words of the dentist from Seinfeld, I'm Jewish for the jokes at this point. So, that's about as deep as I get with my religion for the most part. But at the same point, it's just like very interesting how, while there's so many different discussions, within the movie, it is ultimately, Mr. Reed, played by Hugh Grant, amazingly. It's not just his performance that keeps you, I think, engaged in this movie. I think all three lead performances are equal of each other. I think that Hugh Grant's is the most showy of the three, but I really was impressed by, all three of them. Sophie Thatcher, and I really like Chloe East back in Wolf of Snow Hollow, one of my favorite horror comedies of all time. Jim Cumming, one of the best guys making movies out there today.
Agreed on that. Yeah.
Just and she's great in that, and she's great in this. I think she's going to be the one who's like kind of forgotten or taken for granted of the three of these, because she is the least on the surface, I feel like, charismatic, but I feel like ultimately she's just, her character is really shown in with respect. This is not a movie that is just like, haha, believers, you believe, like type of movie either. It's not just like sticking its nose up at anybody who doesn't believe either. It's like a strangely like kind of respectful, especially of its audience movie, which I'd expect at A24. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
I guess it's also slightly subversive because the way it's structured, you figure Sophie Thatcher's character is like the lead, is like the final girl.
Yeah.
But it's kind of subverted because she's obviously Sister Paxton is the more like reserved one, the kind of like naive one that you figure is going to be cannon fodder, and that's not what happens really. I mean, it reverses it.
Yeah, it does kind of reverse it. And I guess let's start at the beginning. It's like a very simple story, which is nice. You know, as you said, it's the two missionaries. So Sister Paxton, Sister Barnes, going to Mr. Reed's home. And I just feel like the name Mr. Reed, we had 3-4 days to sit on this movie until we got to do the review. One of the kind of advantages I think of our show at times is we get to talk about the newer movie the next week. So we get a little bit of time to, marinate on a movie. Some movies don't need it, like a Speak No Evil or so many others that we've done. You can talk about those right away. A movie like this, I think, really benefited from me getting to sit with it at least. And everything from the name Mr. Reed, mystery. I feel like Mr. Reed is a play on the word. Maybe I'm looking too far into that.
It's not a play on the words.
Exactly. I just feel like it was purposely chosen, and he is just, he is essentially a religious jigsaw in this movie. He's doing a game, which I think he's done many times with many religions. I feel like he probably had a Buddhist come at some point. He had a Jew come at some point. It's just like, and that's all the women in the cages by the time we get to it. So it's just like, really it's kind of a silly, not in this world. No, this could never happen. Of course not. But, it's still able to have a really like interesting, grounded story along with it. But they come into the house. We know everything from the trailer. So the first, half hour is just really well executed and kind of tension filled. The subjects start to get kind of touched here or there. And looking back at it now, it's like, oh, it's all just part of his like vetting process for who he's going to kill and who's going to be his gal in the cage. So, we get to the doors, the belief and disbelief doors. And what's kind of your thoughts on the opening there and when we get up to that first moment?
I think going from the trailer, not that the original longer trailer that I didn't show is misleading, but I had a feeling the movie was going to be like Saw, kind of like Cube, kind of like they're going to be in this like labyrinth under his house. And that's really not what happens. It really is just the thing under the house is just where the real test happens. Like where there's like, he fake, I guess when it all comes down to it, like he fakes a miracle and then he uses a fake miracle to try to further test the faith of the Mormon missionaries in this case. Like I said, it's a very layered movie. It's not what you think it is. If you watch the trailers and think what this movie's about, you don't really. Yeah. Like you're going to go in blind even if you've watched the trailers. There's a lot to this movie. And if you hate lectures, you will probably be uncomfortable in this movie because there's a lot of lectures, but it's fine. And they're all very interesting. Hugh Grant does a great job.
Yeah, there is a lot of dialogue though. And it's like heavy dialogue. It starts out really playful at times, kind of making fun of the Mormon church and things like that with, Joseph Smith finding the gold tablets and, everything like that. But then like, as like Mr. Reed is like kind of talking about the stuff, he's like poking fun. It's like, yeah, the only reason there's polygamy is he's trying to cover up that he was cheating on his wife. I mean, that's it. And, there's like, and another interesting part is Barnes, the Sophie Thatcher character. She was not originally Mormon. She was, she chose the religion after, some tragedy, and appears like her father is not in the picture anymore. And like, she even like mentions how her mom was like looking at multiple religions before choosing Mormon, while Sister Paxton was born into it. She's like all about it, and just seems like the more, cannon fodder, as you said, of the two. And that's why it's interesting when they get to the doors, Sister Paxton is the one who wants to go with the disbelief door because she thinks that, or Sister Barnes is the one who wants to go with the disbelief door, thinking that let's kind of go with what Mr. Reed wants. He seems like he's not a believer.
You have it backwards. It is Sister Paxton wants to go for this disbelief door. She's like, let's just give him what he wants. Let's get
East. Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, I apologize.
That's
yes.
right. And then Sister Barnes, who you figure is the one who has the most, like, oh, my life, God served me up a pile of like shit in my life. He killed my father.
Correct.
She's at the belief door.
Right.
The gimmick is both of those doors go to the same room. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, and that kind of works throughout the movie as we get along, that no matter what your choice is, it all leads to the same ultimate. And just from there, it's like she's kind of unwittingly making herself the more appealing choice for Mr. Reed to keep as a caged woman, as the other one is just going to get murdered anyways. So it's just, and it's just, there's so many little spots that you can pick up like on a rewatch that I just feel like are going to be so, great to kind of enjoy. But we keep on moving on. We have the miracle with the pie and the woman who comes out and eats the poison pie, and then she comes back to life. And there's like, what are your kind of thoughts on that part of the movie? That's a pretty big part of the movie. And
yeah, I think my only negative of Heretic is there does become like a mystery, kind of like a Knives Out kind of element for like the third act, like where like they're trying to unravel what really happened. And I do think it loses rewatchability just due to the fact that there's like a clear-cut mystery in it. But I do think it gains rewatchability because then you'll go back and say, what did I miss the first time through? So this is definitely like a 2-watch movie. I don't know if it's like a 3 or 4-watch movie.
Yeah,
but yeah, the mystery element takes away from its rewatchability. But I'd like the first time through, like I was totally, I didn't catch any of that stuff. Like I was surprised by the reveals at the end.
And what did you think about so as we get through, we're gonna kind of skip along here and eventually Mr. Reed slashes Sister Barnes' throat. She's dead. And it's just like the miracle of Sister Barnes and her resurrection as what are your kind of thoughts about the last third of this movie and how much of it happened, didn't happen?
One thing I'll say, I'm taking it straight up as everything does happen, because like there's a lot of what I will say is like looking back in the movie.
But you believe there was a miracle with
Sister Barnes. Yeah. Like there's a lot of foreshadowing because they go in the room and she sets out the weapon, like she hides that weapon, and you just kind of forget about it. Like the nail, the board with the nails sticking.
Yeah, with the 3 nails.
You forget that's just sticking out. 3 nails. Symbolism.
Yes.
And then at the end of the movie, she saves the day and clocks him in the head with the board with the 3 nails in it.
After he says magic underwear.
Yes, after he says magic underwear.
Great call.
Yeah, a lot of great comments, a lot of great foreshadowing. Like the movie is structured incredibly well. Like it's very well. And I think we had talked about before we went in the air, we talked about these directors, their previous movies. This is definitely like a step up from everything they've done. I like Haunt, but this blows Haunt away. And it definitely blows away at 65.
Yeah, no, I only saw 65, but I'll take your word on it. I believe Haunt is better than 65, I hope. But
more than likely. Haunt is really good, but it's no Heretic.
No. This is really, really solid. And I think it's interesting because I kind of have a different read on the last little part of this movie, because especially as she, eventually, is, approached by Mr. Reed, and she is praying with Mr. Reed, and then Mr. Reed is like almost crying into her chest. And then I just feel like there's a conversation earlier in the movie where like Sister Barnes is talking about how she died earlier, or almost died earlier in life from eating Taco Bell and then like having an E. coli attack. And she's like, you see crazy stuff when your brain starts to lose oxygen. And earlier in the movie, then, Sister Paxton's also talking about how, when I die, I'm going to become a butterfly to let my, family know that I passed on.
And it'll land on my hand.
And it will land on my hand. And what happens at the end of the movie? The butterfly lands on her hand, and then quickly the butterfly disappears. And then you see Sister Paxton kind of look up confused and like nothing's real. And then what song plays to end the movie? Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door to like a Maisie the stars like fade into you tune, which was a callback to how music is iterations of iterations and a play on how religions are iterations on iterations of each other.
And board games.
The ultimate religion is control. And so I do believe Mr. Reed ends up killing Sister Paxton at the end when she's climbing up and she's praying. And, you know, praying is a nice thought, as they say in the movie, but it ultimately doesn't do anything. And she's having a vision, I believe, here, because it even calls back to the white clouds, the white snow, everything like that. The butterfly being there representing Sister Barnes and then disappearing, and then the look on her face as it fades to black. I think that there are two reads to this movie, and neither one can be absolutely certain, because ultimately this movie, I feel like, is critiquing certainty and not so much critiquing belief, which is what I was expecting it to be critiquing.
It's an agnostic movie, this movie.
I mean, honestly, either read is valid here, because ultimately, like, the certainty is what's being, I feel like, critiqued more by these guys. And another reason I believe that is because the filmmakers say that themselves in some interviews that I've been able to watch. So, like, again, like it is like, it makes a lot of sense when you put that all together. And again, kind of subverts expectations, because I expected this religious horror movie to be like so many religious horror movies, which is either atheist or completely.
Yeah, it's really not an atheist movie, because like it's a search for truth.
Right.
So, like, I fully believe that Mr. Reed's character would be willing to accept something if it could be proven.
I mean, and it's just, it's just like this movie just touches on so much that we could keep on going on. But like, just when things, start to go awry, it's when you really start to see some of the more harebrained ideas come out, I'll just say. Simulation theory makes a cameo and some others, and it's just like based on like her birth control. So it's just like all sorts of really interesting routes this movie goes in that makes at least one rewatch worth it.
I think I'm definitely going to rewatch at least once, because there's definitely tons of foreshadowing and callbacks. But let's just jump ahead to the ratings. All right, let's get some ratings then. I'll go first. I think we might have rated this the same, or maybe you rated it higher than me. But like, I enjoy a dialogue-heavy movie. I enjoy a movie that's like a thinker. Like I said, the mystery element might hurt this on rewatch for me, but as an initial viewing, I'm at a 4.5 on Heretic.
Yeah, pretty similar. I really did like this movie. This has been a great year in horror, in my opinion, and I'm really encouraged at how many people really gave this movie a fair shake. That's pretty awesome, because I think we're starting to take for granted how well A24 horror is doing in the mainstream. I think a movie like this, how dialogue heavy it is for me, it really sticks the landing as well. And 3 fantastic performances, but Hugh Grant's is going to get the shine. But Chloe, I'm telling you, Chloe East, I feel like has real potential to be a star.
And Topher Grace is in it.
And Topher Grace is in it as a nice little like barbarian. In this movie, it's really cool because this movie has like a nice little satirical edge to it as well, without taking away from the drop. 4.5 videotapes for me as well.
Yeah.
Very close to a 5, honestly. And the more I've thought about and sat with it, the closer I've gotten to that. I just really had a good time with this. As a Saw fan, I believe that Mr. Reed and John Kramer sit down together and have tea. I really do. I think they discuss ideas. So if they take place in the same universe, which I didn't really look into with this one, I get it. A24 and Lionsgate don't cross paths yet, but there could be a crossover event down the line with Mr. Reed and John Kramer, maybe with a flashback or something. So we'll hold on.
They're geographically far apart, I believe, but who cares? John Kramer travels now. He can go wherever he wants.
Yeah, exactly. He's going to have to go and kill that one woman's dad, so he's probably going to stop over in London.
But we're also doing the Why We Love Horror Challenge still, so we're going to talk about that right now. We're really deep into it. We're in the home stretch now. That's the website over on Letterboxd. Final 5 characters there, lowercase r, lowercase l, capital W, lowercase d, capital I. Hey, actually, this font here actually shows it as an L now. So I'm going to stop saying that. That's just read it as it is, kids. That's exactly what it is.
Good job.
This week, watch a horror movie that was adapted from a book. And you finished, so you can start. You can start.
Yeah, I finished.
Too.
Yeah. So yeah, and by the way, Abby gave Heretic a 4 out of 5 videotapes as well. And her movie this week was Red Dragon. She didn't like it very much. I liked it more than she did. Ringu was my movie for this week. I had a very good time with this one. I've actually not seen The Ring all the way through, but obviously I know everything about it as everybody else does. But yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. It kind of got me on a little bit of a J-horror wave as of now. And I just obviously agree with you. As you've said, you didn't think this movie needed to be remade. It didn't. It's creepy, not scary, and that's okay. And at times it does get pretty scary, especially if you didn't have the osmosis of pop culture. So yeah, I had a really good time with this one. And yeah, I'm glad it kind of led me down a wave of J-horror this week. I've had a good time watching it.
And speaking of creepy, not scary, I watched a movie apparently based on a book, Valerie and Her Week of Wonders. It's a 70s Czechoslovakian vampire movie that is real pedo vibes, like crazy pedo vibes, to the point that I was like, I don't want to finish watching this movie, but I did finish watching it. It's real weird. It's gonna make you feel weird watching it. But there's vampires in it. So if you're a vampire completionist, get over to Valerie and Her Week of Wonders. Ignore all the pedophilia stuff in it. All right.
All right. Thank you.
That'll do it this week.
Bye.
So like, comment, subscribe, and share. Go to the Facebook group of Why We Love Horror. Yeah, come interact with us. We love it. Letterboxd. Yeah, Letterboxd is JWMaher, Incubrooks over there. Abby's got one at Abbey Road with like 15 B's and 15 O's. You'll figure it out. You already
one
follow
with
her.
all the likes on Letterboxd.
Yeah,
so
you already follow her. Yeah, it's fine. Schedule here is the same. Monday we're still doing verses. Thursday we're doing this. Friday we're doing Why We Love Horror trivia, and we're not even announcing special editions. We'll drop them when we drop them.
Yep.
But we appreciate you being here, and we'll see you next week.